Welcome back to Finish Big. My name is Joe Ford, and uh, as the head of the Foley Files fan club, I am so excited today. I've ditched my other half, and I'm with the main man himself. Finish Big comes to you live with Tim Foley himself. Hello, Tim.
Hello, thanks for having me.
It doesn't bother you, does it? The pair of us are there cooing over you in those videos.
You coo as much as you like. I will blush, but all cooing is welcome, I guess.
Actually, I'm sort of curious straight off like how do you seek out many reviews? I know some authors that do and some that don't.
Yeah, I go through like peaks and troughs, because yeah, it's when a story comes out, you'll Google it. It depends if the name as well is like easily Googleable. Like I will say, looking for reviews for Vampire Weekend, very difficult. Turns out that's a big major band, so that was
Okay.
hard. But no, some of them, yeah, some of them you peak, but then I don't know, I then wilt, in the face of good compliments, bad compliment, whatever, you sometimes just have to kind of shut that off. So yes and no. I have the weakness we all do. I have Googled my name, but then I just panic and I'm like, well,
I'm always taken back to that advice that Russell T Davies gave to Helen Rayner when she went seeking out reviews of Daleks in Manhattan when it came out, and it gave her a nervous breakdown. And he said, "Why would you ever venture into the cesspit of Gallifrey Base? What is wrong with you? Don't ever do that again." Doctor Who fans are
yeah.
never happy.
Yeah, and it's also it works the other way as well. I've had advice from Dorney where he's been like, because sometimes I've done an audio and I was like, oh, I don't think I've done a very good job on that, and he was like, don't let anybody hear you say that because there'll be someone that's going to be their favorite audio and they don't want to hear from you saying, oh, what a pile of rubbish that was, because everyone's got different tastes and stuff, and so yeah, I guess as a writer you got to keep stum. So
Well, I talk to a lot of Doctor Who fans, okay, on the various podcasts that I do, and there's very few things that they are unanimous in, and what the rarest of things, the one unanimous for seems to be if they see Tim Foley's names in the schedules, they're all very happy.
no, that's kind of you to say. Although I mean, you say this though. I've never actually met a Big Finish listener in person, other than my colleagues. You could be, none of this could be real. You could all just be lies on the internet.
That's right.
So
You
that's
are
very kind of you to say, but
hallucinating right now. Okay. I'm the product of your diseased mind right now.
I love.
Although, if you make me sausages and chips, I'll be round tomorrow night. You want to meet a Doctor Who fan? I'll be there.
Sausage and chips with an egg as well, or just sausage and chips.
I'm not too fussy. If I want beans, maybe.
All right, okay. Beans, yeah, I can do beans. I can do beans.
How are we
That's the
talking
height
about
of my
making
cooking.
food for each other already? What is going on here? Um, we're here to talk about your prolific, and I think I can say that now, prolific Big Finish output. Um, I've got a bit of a leading question to start off with, if that's okay.
Mhm.
It's a bit of a list, so bear with me. The fourth, fifth, seventh, eighth, ninth Doctor adventures, Stranded, The Time War, The War Doctor, The Fugitive Doctor, Classic Doctors, New Monsters, Unbound, Bernie Summerfield, River Song, The Lone Centurion, Robots, Smith and Sullivan, Class, Peladon, Gallifrey, Dark Gallifrey, War Master, Martha, Rose, Torchwood. Which was your favourite of those?
Ah, you can't ask me that. And the favorite one is always the one that I'm currently working on. It's a cheat of an answer, but it's so true. You just sort of fall down the rabbit hole of being like, oh, I love this. I love being with the War Doctor and Morbius or River Song and Hologram or whatever. You just end up, I don't know, just getting besotted with your latest one. Then you hand it in, and then you just have to wipe your mind and then move on to the next one.
Well, I'm going to rewind back to the start then. That was just a cheeky question to start off with. But, well, I mean, I would like to get into some of those if we can. But how did this all begin with Big Finish? Whenabouts
Mhm.
was that? And were you approached? Did you submit?
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to think. It would have been about nine. years ago, 2017, I'm trying to remember. So basically, I'd grown up with Big Finish. I'd loved Big Finish. I'd maybe tried to send a couple of scripts off when I was a teenager. Um, and then didn't get anywhere because obviously they were pretty rubbish. But then years and years passed, and then I was getting into sort of theatre, and then I won a little theatre award, and I something just clicked, and I was like, all right, I'm going to be cheeky. I've got this award now. I'll just you know DM some of the producers. And the only one that got back to me was Scott Hancock. And he was like, hey, we're doing this original series. Would you like to pitch? And I pitched. It was just a sort of like a sci-fi anthology thing that never got off the ground. But he had my details from that pitch. And then maybe 6 months later, he just sort of out the blue, he was like, have you seen Torchwood? Have you ever listened to Gallifrey? I've got these two things. Do you want to go for either of them? And I loved Gallifrey, and I was like, yes, yes, yes. And Torchwood, I have to admit, at the time I was a bit indifferent about, but I didn't want to say no, so I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll pitch for Torchwood. And then ended up spending many happy years with Hancock and Goss, largely on the Torchwood range. And yeah, I just feel like I learned everything about audio writing from the pair of them.
That is a trinity of talent. If you don't mind me saying, Scott Hancock, James Goss, and Tim Foot, boy, oh boy, no wonder that range is so bloody good. Jesus
Uh,
Christ.
they were so good to me. Because I remember my first Torchwood, I managed to get it in early, and then the writer who was later in the series dropped out, and because I'd handed it in early, Goss was like, "Do you want to do another one straight away?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, go on then." And they just kept on giving me opportunity after opportunity, and like some of my early scripts were, I won't say ropey, but I just didn't know the sort of rules about audio writing. I'd like listen to a lot of stuff, but I didn't know sort of just sort of simple tips and stuff and tricks that they were then teaching me as we were going along. And so yeah, I was really like learning on the job. It was great.
It's very odd because I don't actually do too many interviews for podcasts, but recently I have interviewed Scott Hancock, who spoke
Oh,
very kindly of your first Gallifrey script. Is it Soldier Obscura?
oh,
Is that the one?
yes, that was
Which
it. Yes.
I had just by pure coincidence listened to a couple of weeks earlier. God, it's a banger. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, is
That you
it?
were feeling your
Oh,
way in.
well.
It was great. And then by another bizarre coincidence, I literally interviewed Miles Richardson 2 days ago. So like, it's like I'm
Oh,
doing the
great. I
Gallifrey
love
rounds at the
him.
moment. Oh God.
Yeah, you should. It's an amazing range. I love Gallifrey. It's one of them ones I like, yeah, listen to like it was a teenager and then it was away for a bit and then it came back and then it's been in the Time War and I love that it sort of, keeps going and going. It's great.
He essentially turned up, Tim, as Braxiatel. He was in an enormous library in a pinstripe suit, and he goes, "Am I on?" I said, "Yes." He went, "Oh, good,"
God.
and then lifted up this enormous glass of red and has just started drinking. I thought, oh, "Okay, that's how this is going
Oh,
to
why
go."
haven't I done that? I need a beer or something. I've already got a cup of tea. Oh well.
Well, you're slightly less fruity, but much more charming. Um, so what
Well,
happened from there then? Did it just roll from there?
yeah, well, because I mean, sort of Big Finish. I know we maybe talk about Big Finish Towers as one big sort of castle that we're all in, but really it's sort of like a series of islands in terms of like different producers and different directors and stuff. You're all working on different ranges. So yeah, I was with sort of like Hancock and Goss. Sounds like a solicitors, but that's who I was with. And then they were sort of doing other ranges, sort of trying to think what else we did from then. It was through Hancock I got my first snifter of doing a Doctor Who because we did like a New Adventures one. I remember being very excited about that. But it was thanks to Dawny who I then started to email, and I was a bit starstruck by because I knew John Dawny because who didn't? And um, he started listening to my stories and he was like, "Oh, would I'll try and get you in on some of the Doctor Who's." I was like, "Yes, please." And so my first Doctor Who script proper, as in, through it was the Fourth Doctor Adventures, and I think it just came out earlier this year. It's the one with the Banshees in, and again, I just feel like I was thrown in the deep end in a lovely way because they asked me, they said, "Can you do Leela? Can you do K9? Can you introduce her to the Brigadier?" And I was like,
Yes.
"Absolutely, I can do all that. Yes, 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 yes." Um, and yeah, once again, I feel like that maybe the overarching theme of this is I get my claws in and then I don't let go because I don't want to let go. So I'm like, Hancock, keep commissioning me, Dory, keep commissioning me. But yeah, and it's just been. I guess I just kept on saying yes to everything because I wanted to do everything.
Oh, I mean, I'm pleased you did. They're all bangers. Now I can see, anyone who's just listening to this can't see, but there is a particularly fabulous piece of Colin Baker artwork on your wall behind you. So I'm
Yes.
assuming you was a big Doctor Who fan already.
Absolutely, yeah. It was, but it's funny because I became a fan during, the wilderness years. So I relied on UK Gold Repeats and Big Finish. Big Finish was like my
Yeah.
era of Doctor Who. And these were CDs that were like passed to me by, I had an uncle who was a fan and an English teacher who was a fan. So they were sort of like lending me these CDs and I was listening to them and being like, oh my God, they're great. Um, and it was the likes of, the Eight and Charlie run, that initial one that I just really fell down the rabbit hole because that was my first encounter with something like a series arc. Um, just, knowing something was wrong with Charlie, what's going to happen? Oh my God, hang on, is that Rassilon? Why is a Dalek just popped up in Seasons of Fear? Like, you just keep listening and it had a real propulsion to it, and I loved all of that. And yeah, it was only really when I sort of went to uni that I just sort of fell off and fell out of touch with sort of what Big Finish was doing. But then I'm so glad I reconnected. Yeah.
Was you before you started writing for Big Finish? Were you already writing like away from Doctor Who?
Had you asked me this a couple of weeks ago, I would have said no. But I just discovered like a bunch of old childhood stuff, and I found loads of hilarious outlines for novels that I was planning as like a 10 or 11-year old.
Nice.
None of which I think are now sadly
Can you pitch them
unviable,
to me
but
now, please?
I don't think they're all. There's one about flesh-eating mermaids on a university campus, and I wish I could find the actual test for it because what did 11-year-old me think a university campus was? Who knows? But
Sounds
but no, it
amazing.
was yeah. Well, probably wouldn't have been, but um, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I was sort of flirting around with like I guess plays and stuff when I got to uni. But I think I just never put two and two together that I really enjoyed listening to Doctor Who on audio. I want to write. Maybe I should write Doctor Who on audio. So yeah, I was a bit slow on the uptake there.
I've only got one. It's called The Prison in Space. I wrote it when I was 11 years old. I've still got it in the cupboard with a hand-drawn cover that no one will ever see. And
Oh,
my teacher said, Joe, A plus. This is very creative. And unfortunately, it was a total rip-off of Avengers of Varos. I mean, the dialogue, everything. So Philip Martin, you earned that A plus. Well done. I just took the Doctor out of it. It's basically that.
but I feel like this is, in becoming a fan of Doctor Who, maybe you were the same, but we just exposed to so many genres, so many different kinds of
Yeah.
stories on planets, historicals, and everything. And if you want to sort of get involved, I remember reading somewhere saying, like, maybe this isn't true anymore, but like fans of Star Trek seem to want to go into science, whereas fans of Doctor Who wanted to go into the art. So they wanted to be creative. And I can see why it's such a creative show and it unleashes something inside of you, I think.
When you approach, you've written for lots of doctors, lots of companions, and lots of ranges. So when you're sort of opening steps into a new audio that you're writing, is it like ideas that you've banged? Is it, oh, but this would work well with that? Or is it, Tim, can you write this? This is the idea. We want you to bring that to life.
Yeah, I mean, it's different commissions are different things. Sometimes you get a bit of a, if I say shopping list, I don't mean to sound like detrimental because sometimes they're quite useful if they want this monster, if they want this setting or something. Because the trick is then to sort of work out how to make that exciting. Sometimes it's a blank slate. David Richardson is very good at being like, Tim, just pitch me something. Um, but I guess I don't really think in specific, like in terms of writing for a certain doctor or a certain companion from the outset. I think all my ideas are a bit vague, and then I sort of then go in and focus. Um, it's always a challenge as well because say with like the fourth or the fifth Doctor, the Doctor is somewhat of an emotional, immovable object. You can't completely change the character. They're sort of like embedded in a whenever that story's set. So it's sort of tricky to sort of find that sort of nuance there, I think, with them. So I think that's why maybe the companions will have a bit more of a sort of emotional arc in the stories. Whereas the likes of like the Eighth Doctor, um, they're a bit more, open ended, so you can have a bit more. You can push the boat out a bit. I think that's fair to say.
I realised I had never asked, I've spoken to a few writers and I'd never asked this question, and I'm so curious to know what the answer is. Yeah. L what is the first step of writing an audio? Do you write the narrative? Do you start writing the dialogue? Do you go, right, I want to do the characters from there to there? Or is that just different every time as well? Or do you have a set way of doing this?
I mean, there's a set way. There's this sort of the set sort of big finish way. Like you'll pitch a paragraph. Maybe it won't even be a paragraph. Maybe it's just a couple of lines. I want to put the Doctor on a moon in a cheese factory or something, and they'll be like, "Yes, go for that, Tim." Or they'll be like, "No, we. Why would we want that?"
We
And
wanna
then
put the 13th Doctor and Yaz on a stag party or a hen party in the woods with a vampire. Oh, gold. Go and write it.
yeah, yeah, tick, tick, tick. That sounds great, Joe. I think you should write that.
Thank you. I'll give it a
um,
go.
and then you just sort of like build it out. You write like an outline or a treatment. I think that the trick is the way for me to make it as easy as possible and to make the writing as enjoyable as possible. You got to do all the hard work up front. You got to figure out all the twists and turns. You got to leave a little room for discovery as you're writing, because otherwise it would be boring. But you also want enough that it's not like, oh my goodness, what are they going to do next? I don't even know. So yeah, I think it's sort of like figuring it out and um, just making sure you sort of like ironed out the creases of a difficult plot before you've started writing.
Has that ever happened then? Have you ever written a script and you had a very good idea of where this was starting, the middle, and the end, and then it's ended up somewhere completely different, or a character's gone in a direction you never would have thought of when you first started writing it?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I'm trying to think. Definitely stuff arises. So, for instance, I did a Doctor Who story called The Auton Infinity, and that was like a Fifth Doctor story, and it had the Autons in, and it was as I was writing that I realised how much it could tie into the sort of the Five Doctors, and that sort of worked as like a celebration. I don't want to do too many spoilers in case anyone hasn't listened to that particular story. But that was about, I guess, making sort of connections within the story that I discovered. Oh, what else is I think? No, I don't know. I've definitely surprised myself when doing the treatment. Or I think, that's such a good question. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Has that ever
Interview
surprised me?
part two coming after Tim's had a long thought.
Yeah, I guess it's happened more on say like the Torchwood range or something when they're more like sort of character pieces and you can allow yourself to sort of go down different alleys because yeah, well, it's a good question. Thanks, Joe. I'll be thinking that long after the interview. So
That's the first time I've ever made anyone think in my entire life. Well, um,
shut up.
how far can you go with Torchwood? Obviously, it's advertised as a more adult range. Guard your children. Don't let them listen to this if they're under. Like, do you allow yourself to? Okay, I can be as adult as I possibly want. I think that's a danger you can fall into with something like that.
Yeah, it is. And I definitely think there were some things earlier on in my Torchwood career that were maybe more adult. Um, but you have and safety net's the wrong word, but eventually things have to get like the thumbs up from the BBC. So ultimately, if it's too adult, the BBC can send you back to the drawing board. So I don't think you're in any danger of doing anything like wrong or what illegal. I don't know. I mean, Torchwood can be dark. I don't know how dark that would be. I
I mean,
think
the
it's tricky
series
though
could be
because
dark as well, couldn't it? Like the series.
yeah, this is what I mean because it's not because we think adult and we think swearing or sex or things like that. But no, I think there's just some stories that are just utterly traumatic and heart-wrenching, which technically, no swear words, not too violent or anything, which isn't dark on one aspect, but in others, you're just like, oh my goodness, I will not sleep for the next week. I'm I have to say those stories are normally written by Goss because wow, can Goss do a dark character journey. It's so like I'm so jealous of that man, that genius of him. Like, oh, still get shudders thinking about something like, oh, what's it like? The Hope, is that the name of it? And then there's Corpse Day. Oh my God. Yeah.
I know.
Some
I'd like
terrifying
to
stuff in the
raise
range.
the game to Night of the Fendal, please, which gave me
Okay.
many, many
Yeah.
nightmares after listening to that. And he goes to me, let's listen to this in the dark. It's supposed to be scary. I went, oh, all right. Like, yeah, thank you, Tim.
Well, I mean, that one, that was a special request from Eve Miles, which I was utterly starstruck by. But Eve Miles is a huge fan of horror. And she's like, make it dark and then make it even darker.
Oh,
And
wow.
you would never know that because she's an absolute riot in the studio. She was just so fun and so funny. I absolutely loved her. But yeah, that one I needed a few showers afterward writing. Yeah.
Boy, oh boy. I mean, a lot of those torturers leave me in a cold sweat. Survivors as well. There's some ranges of Big Finish where I have to prepare myself mentally before I go into them.
Yeah. I mean, I did have to then rewire my brain because that the first Tom Baker Doctor Who that I wrote, which was the Banshee one that came out earlier this year, my initial pictures for that were too dark. And
Right.
both Donnie and Richardson were being like, I think you're still in Torchwood mode here. And I was like, oh, right, yes. Okay, sorry. Yes, of course, this would not be on 1970s tea time.
Oh, I really want to
Apologies.
know what was in that original
Yeah.
treatment now. Yeah. An
They
Eric
both stare
Sayward style
aghast.
massacre. Yeah. Um, you have written a fair number of Fifth Doctor stories, both with Tegan and Nyssa, Tegan, Nyssa, and Adric. Um, what attracts you to that era? I'm assuming that's a sort of I'd quite like to write for the Fifth Doctor, and you write really well for the Fifth Doctor. Please do some more. That's sort of like 50-50. And you've got a real gift for the voices of those regulars. Um, I mean, I was listening to an interview the other day with Matthew Waterhouse, and he was like, Tim Foley, absolute genius, one of the young geniuses coming
Oh,
up through. So, yeah. So the actors think it as well. So yeah, could we just discuss the Fifth Doctor, those characters, and those stories?
yeah. I mean, it's lovely you're saying this because I feel like all except one of my Fifth Doctor stories was never meant to be for the Fifth Doctor to begin with.
Oh,
Like I think of the Auton Infinity was originally for the Sixth Doctor. Pursuit of the Nightjar was originally for the Third Doctor. Merfolk Murders was a kind of sequel to the Fourth Doctor, but could have had the Fourth Doctor in it originally. And so I was always worried I was sort of doing them a disservice. It's not that the Fifth Doctor was like second best for me or anything. It was just these stories were originally meant to go in different ways, and then they often then need a lot of adaptation, I think, to then fit the Fifth Doctor because he's got so many companions, and so then you really have to sort of sit down and make sure that everyone's got a good bit of writing. So, for instance, I remember like Pursuit of the Night Dart. It was going to be the Third Doctor and Joe, so it was one companion. And then when you have to rewrite it for the Fifth Doctor, Nyssa and Tegan, you don't want to just divvy up Joe's bit. You've got to go back to the drawing board slightly. You've got to sort of iron out the sort of good journeys for them. But I mean, I was always secretly pleased when I went to the Fifth Doctor because, yeah, I think sort of season 19, there was just something really well, because the first Doctor Who I ever got on VHS was Snake Dance, which I know is season 20. And I know it was a sequel to Kinder, and I had no idea. I was just watching it being like, wow, this is great. Okay, loving everything that's going on here. And he was such a, I think there's such a sort of beautiful poetry to the Fifth Doctor. He's so different to his the ones that came before him. And lots of people think he's like quite passive, but I love that there's a sort of I don't know, a slight snarkiness, but he's also got his friends around him. He does really remind me of like what Jodie Whittaker was doing, I think. I think there's a big sort of similarity both with like the
slight,
fam and the fact that they're
slight
like
snarkiness. He can be a total bitch sometimes, can't he?
well, when I write him, yeah, maybe that's a bit of me coming out.
But
But
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
there's so much space in your scripts, I think, for those characters. And I'm going to be a little bit unkind about 80s Doctor Who now, even though I love it. Absolutely, we Doctor Who fans, we love it all, right? But huge traumatic events occurred in Nissa's, Tegan's, and Adric's life. They all lost relatives. One of them lost their entire home world and history. And none of it's ever spoken about. Everyone just goes off on jolly adventures. So there's just so much there that you can sort of dig up and explore.
Mm. I learned all that by being a listener to Big Finish because you think of those early stories when they really gave space for the characters, like someone like Evelyn Smythe. Oh my gosh, absolutely love Evelyn.
Maggie.
And that first story of hers, was spending about 20 minutes where the doctor's, visiting her in a lecture hall and then they go around to hers for like chocolate cake and it's all. I want to sort of capture that, coziness and still characterfulness. And you can absolutely do that with the regulars. They're so up for that as actors. And although you maybe have to sort of like squint slightly to sort of fit all the stories into, say, like season 19 or whatever, I feel like you can get away with it. And we as fans know, they're coming back to these characters after all this time. It doesn't have to line up like perfectly. So,
If
yeah,
they can
big fan.
squeeze in an entire 2.5 seasons between Planet of Fire and Caves of Androzani with Perry and M,
Exactly. Yeah.
you can put 5 stories in season 19 where they have an
Yeah.
awful lot of development and then that's conveniently forgotten when we head back to the TV adventures.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yes, I mean, I think, yeah, season 19 is one of those. Oh, it must have been really exciting to like view at the time. I'm always jealous as well because I'd not grown up with Doctor Who on telly. I do think, especially the likes of Peter Davison being in the role, the show being on twice a week, was it? During the week, loads of cool guest stars, really colourful stories. Like, it must be really cool to be a fan at that time, I
My,
think.
my first Doctor Who story was Battlefield episode 2. I came in right at the end, and where Ace is banging on the glass, and I'm absolutely traumatized for a week because I think she's drowned. And then, get to the end, that's like, oh, I can't wait till that comes back. That was the most exciting. I've watched Curse of Fenric Survival, all those exciting stories. Yeah, 16 years I waited.
Oh
And
no. Oh, that's
did
heartbreaking.
so you didn't see anything live then, no?
No, no. I've had a vague memory, and I only realized it when I watched it for the first time when I was sort of like 10 or 11. But I was like, hang on, I recognize bits of Planet of the Daleks. So I was like a very young child. I must have seen the sort of 1993 repeat. But no, I didn't see the TV movie live. I wasn't sort of into the show then. Um, no, it was really so this is why I also really cling on to sort of Nine and Rose because what was I? I was sort of like 14, 15. I was just tipping out of sort of possibly being too old for the show. But I'd heard it had been announced that Doctor Who was coming back, so I was ready and waiting and waiting and waiting. And when it finally arrived, everyone in my class was like, "Oh, is this Doctor Who that you've been going on about, banging on about for our entire time at school? It's actually really good." And I was like, "Yes, vindicated." Like,
I
so,
feel seen.
yeah. Yes, exactly. So I like to claim, Nine and Rose is sort of like my TV Doctor Who, even though it's, I'm a mishmash. I'm the Wilderness Years. I'm repeats. I'm Big Finish. I'm the Virgin Missing Adventures. That is in my Doctor Who DNA.
That was absolutely my journey as well. I've such nostalgic affection for the wilderness years. I literally podcast about nothing else, really, most of the time. Do you know what you should do though? You should go and find those people that were going, "Oh, is this Doctor Who? Is that what you're into?" Sort of fan yourself with some of those paychecks from the big finishes and go, "Yeah, Doctor Who. That's right. Yeah, it's done me all right.
Yes.
Okay."
Yeah.
That's not my way of finding out. No, I've tried so hard to encourage people to tell me how much they get paid. No one's biting. It's so annoying.
Well, I would do it for a sausage roll, so I'm
Okay.
probably the wrong person to ask.
Yeah, David Richardson is listening to this. All right. That's all you're going to get from now on.
All right, David, vegan sausage roll, please. Or, I mean, I'll have anything baked, so just pop it in the post.
Oh, you'll be visiting me next. I can bake superbly. Um, do you
Oh,
know,
cool.
when do you know that you've made a impact at Big Finish Towers? I'm gonna suggest it's when they ask you to write their prestige release of a 12-part story across 2 box sets. The sort of tentpole release of the year, and hand it to you. I'll say that's probably the point where you go, do you know what? I think I'm doing something all right here.
I mean, that's kind of you to say, but I think, I feel like if anyone else was sort of cheeky enough to ask for that, they'd probably get it. I,
You are
I've
so
got a lot of.
humble.
No, it's not true. It's not true because I just think of all the releases that I've really enjoyed, and it is about having that sort of team in place. So, I feel like David Richardson is really good at sort of just letting me, because I he was the one who gave me my first like 2 hour story, and then first 3 hour, and then 4 hour, and then on and on and on. But it's because I kind of like asked him for it or begged him for it, and then of course I have like John Doney, who was been there and done that with all things, and is so wise, and he was giving me advice for sort of like my first long stories. So I think it's funny as well because I feel like it does look like I've been doing a lot this year because my name does appear a few times. But this is all stuff that some of it I wrote like years and years ago, and it's just finally been released from the top secret Big Finish vaults, guarded by Nick Briggs and a robot dog. This is so I don't know. I feel like there's definitely I'm just one of the gang, I guess.
I know that's absolutely true because I spoke to Nicola Bryan. Like, I don't interview a lot. I've done a lot lately, but I don't usually. But I spoke to Nicola Bryan, and she goes to me, I was talking to Jacqueline Rayner 2 years ago, and I said, that was a wonderful script. When's that coming out? And she said, 2029. And Nicola Bryan's like, what? And she goes, it can't be 2029. She goes, yeah, we've got enough for a few more years after that as well. I was like, okay. Okay, so they're
I mean,
thinking way in advance.
they are, and you just never know as a writer because sometimes they come out fairly quickly and sometimes they take ages. I definitely thought Hooklight would be locked away for a bit longer, so I'm delighted it's sort of out. But something like okay, I do think one of my favorite doctors that I've written. Who knows when that'll be out? That'll be out at hopefully this century. We'll see. We'll find out.
Please don't dangle a carrot in front of me like that. One of the ones I've written, very
Dangle.
ambiguous. Can I say that? I mean, what an undertaking that must have been, Hook. Like, it's a huge story, and
Yeah.
like I always think there's a level of competence to Big Finish that is in oral terms that is extraordinary. Like, it's so consistently good, but I could feel the love that went into the production of that, from everybody, from the music to the actors to everybody. The director. It really was a polished bit of work. And I want to say thank you as well because I never used to be much of a Tegan fan, and
Sacrilege.
I know, and I know people sort of put guns to my head and things. It's because I don't think she was written with a great sense of humor on TV, and I think what's happened since she's come across the premiere, not only is Janet Fielding just chilled out in the role, it's less. I've got to build a career from this. It's more I'm hanging with my mates. What a jolly script. But it's also that she's just wittier and more relaxed in the stories now. And boy, you gave her a one episode romance in Hooklight, and it was
Yeah.
just the best bit of writing I've ever experienced with Tegan. And the bit where, and I will give a small spoiler if that's all right. I mean, I'm assuming everyone that's listening to this has listened, but the bit where the fella hangs up the sign that says Heathrow, I mean, I had chills. It was so
Oh,
moving. That must have been great to write that single episode.
yeah. I mean, that's the first thing I wrote. I normally write them sort of chronologically, but I just had so much fun planning it out. I was like, I'm just going to dive straight in with this like little thing. But I mean, that's exactly the kind of thing that I feel like Big Finish excels in because I don't know if you definitely wouldn't have got away with that on TV in sort of like 1980 whatever. It's Doctor Who like it's the expanded universe of Doctor Who. It's sort of Big Finish and the books get to burrow deeper into characters like that and again it's the great trust that like Richardson and Donny showing me that I'm like okay this episode's not really gonna have the Doctor and they're like all right okay there you go. So yeah, it's about everyone being on board. But I love Tegan. Oh my God, I would happily travel in the
I love her
TARDIS with
now, though,
Tegan. I
and
feel,
you're
I
part of
feel like
that
she'd
journey
rip me
for
to
me.
shreds.
I love her now.
Oh,
I just think she's wonderful, and I just think Janet's wonderful in all of her Big Finish adventures. Yeah, I really think she's gone on a journey. You said that Snake Dance was your first VHS. Yeah, I was having this
yeah.
argument with my friend Luke. He's like, "Oh, I've got to say hello to you from Luke, by the way. He's an enormous fan of
Oh,
both the Fifth Doctor
hello,
and your
Luke.
work." Um, and we were sort of arguing about because in Hooklight, Nissa's the voices in her head, Nissa, Nissa, and she's sort of being seduced by the. I was like, he's giving Nissa his own snake dance and Kinder. It's like it's her Mara. Am I wrong?
That's a lovely way. No, that's a lovely way. These things are probably in there. I don't think I thought about that consciously, but I mean, definitely when you soak up all Doctor Who, you sort of putting that kind of thing. Yeah, I guess I can see that. I can see that. You can tell Luke, yeah, okay.
Oh no, that was me. He was fighting against it. Great, thanks, Tim.
Oh, right, okay.
Won that
Well,
argument
boo,
now.
Luke. Yeah.
Was it with those characters, the Fifth Doctor, Adric and Nessa, was there anything in specifically that you wanted to do? There was a very gentle romance in the Merfolk murders, which really surprised me and delighted me.
Hmm. Yeah, that was again, it's the trust of the production team to let you sort of get away with that. Yeah, I was pleased about that romance. Um, I guess with that, but it's like I was saying at the beginning, because sometimes the Doctor's a bit of a like an immovable object. So the fun that you're going to have with character stories is often going to be the companions. And this is what I think Russell T got so right when he brought the show back in 2005. When we see it all from basically Rose's perspective, it's like yeah, it's the companions' POV that we're following. Um, and yeah, I'm a big believer in giving the companion a a fun time, maybe sometimes a difficult time, but yeah, they're the ones I think I'm more interested in. So you'll see some of that in some stories coming up. There'll be stuff happening to characters. I realize as I'm saying this, I probably shouldn't say anything, but
Don't
yeah,
hit that carrot
who
again.
knows? I know. I'm sorry, I don't mean to do. You can have all the carrots eventually.
Excuse me, as I listened through to all of these stories, I began, that's the one he was talking about. That's the one. That's the one. Um, okay, I'm going to do a bit of role play now, if you don't mind. But I'm going to be
Okay.
you on the phone, all right? And you're getting a call
Oh,
through
okay.
from whoever the producer of the respective ranges are. But they're phoning you up and saying, we want you to kickstart the Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper series of adventures, and even more excitingly, we want you to kickstart the Jodie Whittaker and Mandip Gill series of adventures. Now, what's your reaction?
Well, I squeal, I guess, if that's the phone call. But these things they're slightly top secret and they're sort of spread out. And so you never quite know what you're saying yes to. So it'll be sort of like Matt Fitton knocking on your door in the dead of night, being like, hey, there may be something coming up. Could you be interested? And I'm like, something? Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Oh,
I
here's a
can do
carrot dangler as
something.
well, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. This is where I've learned it from. Everyone in Big Finish is just waving them carrots around. No, yeah, I was delighted. I will say though, I didn't go into this process knowing I was going to be writing episode one because you sort of sit around and have a bit of a sort of writers' room chat, be that on email or like Zoom, and then you just lob some ideas at the producers, and then they sort of like decide the order. So it's pure coincidence that I've launched two ranges this year, and I had no idea they'd be happening one after the other. It does make me look like that I am some kind of like curtain raiser act, like a comedian or something, being like, "Hey, come and have a good time." But yeah, no, it's honestly like such a, I mean, it's an amazing experience, and it just feels so like it's really humbling. Like especially, it's Billy Piper, it's Jodie Whittaker. They're just such phenomenal actors as well. Mandy Gill, oh my God. I was at the recording. I just had to take her aside and be like, oh my God, you are incredible on
They're
audio.
mad,
Because
the
not
pair
all,
of them, aren't they? I saw that
oh my
interview
God, they're
with them.
so
That poor
funny.
woman's trying to keep them under control and ask them questions. And they're just off chatting away about, oh, never mind the questions. Oh, let's talk about this. Completely
No,
mad.
I mean, they should just have a sitcom on their own. You can just wind them up and just let them go. And I would listen to 6 hours of that. I'd listen to 60 hours of that. It's honestly, they're great.
But like, this isn't going to be a series of things of me saying thank you. But boy, that first one, Vampire Weekend, gosh, it was so good, and it did the thing I wish the TV show had done more. And don't get me wrong, I loved John Bishop coming in, but there was one episode where it was just Jodie and Mandip, and Doctor Who was being fronted by two incredible women. And I
Mm.
could have done with like a year of that, and now we get a year of that. So how lucky are we?
Yeah, I do feel very lucky to sort of be part of that. And I also feel lucky to have written episode one for both Nine and Rose and 13 Years, because now I can sit back, put my feet up, and I can listen as a fan. That's always nice.
I mean, I say as well, your Jackie Tyler was spot on. She's always got to be the funniest person in the script, hasn't she?
I mean, I love her. I remember because I think I script edited a story with Jackie Tyler, River Song, and the Crotons, and I
Oh,
remember just
gold.
weeping at all the jokes, and also being like, "Gosh, I wish I could write these." So I finally got my Jackie. I was delighted.
It's an egg box with pincers. What's it gonna do? Oh, she's
Oh, you
just
can quote it. Oh, it's incredible.
wasn't
Yeah, it's
wasn't that notion of Rusty Davies to put Jackie Tyler in the last character you would ever expect to find in Doctor Who into that 2 years, and just make her the most incredible character, like just perfect.
yeah. Yeah, I just think there's so much that is right about series one of Doctor Who when it came back. I've rewatched it so many times. It's perfectly paced. I love the sort of like slow reveal for Rose. I love her tension with the Doctor. I love the family. Like, good stuff. Good stuff.
And was it because both of those scripts were, they had certainly had emotional moments. The last scene in the Christopher Eccleston one, where the dad's finding out, I won't say too much, but that was very, very moving. But they are sort of, and I do not mean this as anyway, they're romps, they're adventures, and it's sort of getting
Oh
us off
no,
with
yeah.
energy and jokes. And was that a
Yeah, they
deliberate
have to
move?
be. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You have to sort of like set the tone, set the pace, and you also have to I mean, it's joke like when I was saying about being a curtain raiser, it is almost like that. You have to make a mission statement and be like, guys, there's so much great stuff coming down the way. I feel yeah, it's a sort of it's a tricky thing because you have to get yourself in a different mindset, I think, when you're writing it's a sort of Big Finish box set or a Big Finish series. Once you work out what your numbering, I guess, is the where you are in that relationship, you've got to write differently. So if you're writing the first episode, you've got to set things up. If you're writing the last episode, you've got to be the big climactic one or wrap everything up nicely. If you're one of the ones in the middle, you have to maybe have to be a bit weirder, or maybe there's a gear shift in there for a later story. So it's all about sort of like teamwork and making sure that you are, say, starting a series arc, you're scattering some breadcrumbs, or you are the big giant loaf at the end. I don't know how to do that metaphor, but yes. So it's really fun to write the first episode, and it's a big like yo, come on, have a good time. So both of them, I think, were that kind of script.
I mean, I think is it 12? I mean, I'd love to be the one writing the first one, getting everything off on a great footing. I would hate to be the person writing the last one, trying to tie everything up satisfactorily.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I've had a good time sort of planning with the likes of Goss. I'm trying to think sort of the Bennies. The most recently, it's been the sort of Benny Summerfield Rangers, and I actually love thinking about okay, who's going to have what story, and then what's the big finale going to be? Because it's just a different form of storytelling. I mean, Hooklight was basically me having my cake and eating it because I could be like, I'm right in the beginning, or I'm also right in the middle, or I'm also right in the end. So I'll do anything really. Big Finish know that. They'll be like, put him there, he'll do it.
Tim, yes, I'll do it. Yes, I don't care what it is. Um, can I very quickly talk about a casting coup that I thought was extraordinary, and that is Sam West as Morbius.
Yes.
Wow,
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
absolutely
He
terrifying.
and he is a mega Doctor Who fan. Before he started recording for Gallifrey Morbius, he was like, "Can I speak to the writer, please? Is he listening in?" And I was on my headphones at home, a bit like I am now, and I was like, "Yes, hello, Mr. West." And he was like, "I just
No.
want to clarify." He's like, I, I think I'm going to play this as this version of Morbius. I think does that feel right to you?" And I was like, "I mean, yes, anything you say." And also, I love that you've gone away and thought about who Morbius is at this point of his life and what is he doing. Yeah, incredible stuff. I just love it when big famous actors are also big nerds like us. So I'm like,
Oh,
yes,
does
more
it
of that,
happen very
please.
often?
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. A lot of people who do the Doctor Who's are doing it because they want to do a Doctor Who. So yeah, there are fans out there,
I mean,
secret fans.
I have to say, he's aged beautifully as well. I still dream of him as Syrian in Dimensions in Time, with that curl coming down his boy, oh boy. I mean, he
Yeah, but
started peak, right? Dimensions in Time. It was all downhill from there.
I know. With at the very bottom, the Dark Gallifrey Morbius. He's like, "What is this rubbish? Bring back Kate O'Mara. Where is she? Where is she?" But no, it's because also that he had such a good time doing the Dark Gallifrey Morbius that David Richardson was like, "Oh, maybe we should get Morbius back. Maybe we should face the War Doctor." And I was like, "Yes, I can write more of him, more of his bombastic. I am Morbius. Love it. Anyone who speaks in the third person like that, love him."
I mean, it is. It's not crazy because the writing's such a good standard. So I'm not surprised that these prestige actors want to do more. But when you look around, John Hurt, Derek Jacobi,
I
it's
know.
astonishing the talent, isn't it, that walks through the doors.
Yeah, it really is, and it's I think we were sort of I don't want to say we were lucky in the lockdown because nobody was lucky in the lockdowns. What a horrible time for everyone, but because audio became such a easy thing for actors to do in they could just throw a duvet over themselves if they needed to, or like Peter Davison, they could like kit out a cupboard. But there were a lot of actors who were then coming and discovering both audio drama and Doctor Who and being like, oh my God, I'm really enjoying this. So I'm just sort of really pleased because audio drama is great. I love that sort of podcast are having a huge resurgence at the moment. And I just feel like I wish I could time travel to like 9-year-old Tim who's listening to Winter for the Adept and trying to explain to his classmates, like, oh yeah, it's a radio play, and they're like, what? It's like a book, and I'm like, no, it's drama. It's drama. It's like TV, but you close your eyes, and yeah, lots of other great actors are discovering that too.
I mean, age 9, listening to Winter of the Adept, would you ever imagine all these years later that you would be writing for these incredible actors?
No, it is amazing, and so I thought I'd lost all my original CDs, but recently I'd come across them, so I was sort of I would say they were a bit sort of moldy and damp. They'd not been kept in good conditions. But what I was doing, I was just sort of like opening it up. I was like cleaning each disc and I was just sort of like reminiscing about, I could just like picture how I was listening to them and so many of the stories. I don't know if I can like quote them, but this weirdly incidental music sticks in my head. Like in Winter for the Adept, that sort of piano
Oh, I
that's
can do
going, it
it. Are
just
you
sort of like
ready?
something.
I think I can do it. Da, 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 da.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank
That's
you,
what's
thank
going around my head.
you.
That's what's going around my head every
I,
winter.
I just remember that crazy Scottish woman that ran the school. Do you remember?
Yes, it was secured by nails. She means screws.
No, now those were early days though, because I also remember this line. My God, the glass shards, they're hanging in the air. Sort of lines that
Oh,
you don't do
yes,
nowadays.
bless.
You know.
But it's tricky as well because audio's such a funny thing. You've kind of got to write not realistically and yet with that pretense of realism. So it's always such a tricky balance, I think.
How do you, I mean, that's a really great point. How do you do that? How do you deliver exposition and visual information without apparently delivering exposition and visual information?
Oh
It's
my
a
gosh, that
gift.
is a
It
good
really is
question.
a gift because it's absolutely invisible in your work. So you need to
Oh,
teach this
that's
to people, okay?
kind of you to say. Well, I mean, it's because I was taught by other people. I mean, it's not quite the same thing, but I remember in my Gallifrey, because it was Hancock, but it was being scripted by Matt Fitton, and he gave me a great piece of advice. And it was Brax was delivering a long speech, and he was like, "Oh, it would be nicer for this scene if Brax was sort of like doing something, because it would sort of like place him in a room. So it's when Brax is sort of like making a cup of tea for like Ace, and it's then become like a writing exercise that I've used with students because it works on stage as well. Like you don't want anyone just to sort of spout exposition. You've got to give them sort of like an action and then bury the words in that. So always one I do is about like people folding up a bed and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just stuff you learn, and you learn it from the, the, I was going to call them old dogs. What do I mean? Just the the veterans. The what am I trying to say?
And
The
you listen to this,
stalwarts.
Dawny Fitton, you old dogs, all right?
You old dog, you salty sea dogs. Yeah, but you'd learn that because they know, and they could do this thing with their eyes closed. So
Should
yeah,
we call them experienced craftsmen? That might
yes,
be
that's
less
that's
insulting.
that's what I was going for. Yes, not dogs, but I love dogs, so really, it's a very
Yeah.
affectionate term.
Me too. What would you say has been like your happiest experience working with Big Finish? Like, is it a single story or a day's recording or a particular script at a certain point where you've just been like, my God, this is just the best.
Yeah, I mean there's so many happy moments and it's cheesy to say, but I love all the other writers that I've met. Like Tony, like Lisa Manuel and like Alfie Shaw, like all of them, like they're such a good gang. And I love I say I often have socials. I'm up north, so I don't get to hang out with them as much as I like, but I could just, hang out with those guys forever. They're great. But I think sort of specific moments, I did love when I went to go to my first Tom Baker recording, because of course I don't have a favorite doctor, but he was the first UK Gold I ever saw was Face of Evil. So to have written a script for Tom Baker and Louise Jameson, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be so starstruck. Lou was amazing. She was just the kindest person. And she was like, this is a lovely script. And Tom Baker, he just sort of sat there and he held court. He told so many stories in the green room, half of which I could never repeat in public. It was scandalous, but it
Tell
was
me off mic,
amazing.
okay? Wait till I press
Oh,
stop and
yes.
then, yeah, okay.
Oh, you'll get all the goss. You'll get all the goss. But it was so great. And I met Donnie there for the first time as well. And it was just, yeah, it was such a lovely day. This was at the beginning, it was like in January 2020. And I remember as I was on the train home being like, what a great year 2020 is going to be. So I cursed it
Um,
for everyone. I must apologize. So sorry, guys. So sorry. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because just every time you sort of do there's something to enjoy about the experience at some point or another. Otherwise, I wouldn't do them. You've got to be having a good time. Otherwise, no thanks. So I
simply
think
that.
I find a lot of joy from them.
I mean, you strike me. I've only spent an hour in your company, but you strike me as somebody that finds a lot of joy in life, full stop. You seem like a really lovely bloke. But there must similarly be times where you're pulling your hair out, right? Going, this isn't working. Like, how
Yeah,
do I fix
absolutely.
this?
Yeah, I mean, but you also, I'm a very self-critical. I really struggle to listen to my own stuff, which is a shame because I'd love to sort of
Great stuff,
celebrate the
Tim.
sort of
Seriously, get over that, all
yes.
right? It's great stuff.
Oh, but it's hard because I can only see my own flaws. I remember what was it? There was an Yvonne story, and I remember ranting to who was it? Scott Hancock. I was like, "Oh, what a useless! Why did I have her say the word regardless?" And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "She just kept on saying the word regardless. You would never say the word regardless." And he's like, What are you on about?" So like, it's stuff that nobody else would ever pick up on. Um, but sorry, completely forgot the question. What was the
T
joy?
tearing your
Well,
hair out,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It happens all the time, and you can be self-critical, and you can sort of like stick your head in the sand and be like, "Oh, it's not working." You just need to sort of share it with someone. I remember I did a talk through with Michael Palin, and it was sort of like a one-person thing, and I
Oh
did,
my.
and I'd written the script, and I put it in a drawer, and I was like, "I'm not getting out," and it was complete. And Goss was like, "Where is it? We need to see it." And I'm like, "I don't think it's any good. I can't let anybody read this." And Goss was like, "Get that script out the drawer, send it to me." And I mean, obviously there were good bits to it, but any bad bits, we worked on it together, and I'm just like, oh, you never, it's never as dark as it might seem. I think when you're writing, it's always a team sport.
Is that the Palin one you're talking about? Did you
Yes,
see the reception to that? I mean, unanimous praise for that
yes, but
one. Come on.
well, yeah, Michael Palin could read. I mean, he was just such a lovely guy as well. I know he could read anything, and I'd be like, yes, Michael, you're wonderful.
I'm never
I
going to
love you,
make a
Sir Michael.
compliment. It's never going to. It's not. They're not going to impact, are they? I can say as many
No,
nice
no,
things as I
so,
want to.
no, no, no. I thought we.
Do you like dipping your toes into, you've done sort of one-offs in Unbound and 11th Doctor Chronicles and the robots and just like all the sort of extraneous ranges that they do. Is that quite fun to do? Just like a one and done?
Yeah, I think so. You have to it's always tricky if it's a one and done because you kind of get up to speed very quickly. I remember for robots, I read all the scripts that came before and there was what maybe 12, 13, 14. I'm trying to remember and I was just flipping through them. And you don't necessarily have to do that, but you kind of, if you're going to dive in, you might as well dive as deep as you can go. Um, Something like the 11th Doctor story. Technically, I didn't write it. I believe that was by my friend Ellery Quest. Who's he? Oh, what a strange chap. But that was Alfie giving me a call, and he was like, I need something in the next 2 weeks. We've had like a terrible mishap. Can you dive in? And that in itself is a fun challenge. And I'm like, yes. I mean, I loved we. Oh, this isn't giving away too many secrets, but the I did a Martha story for Torchwood, and we realized that I needed to write the script in a weekend, and they were like, "It can't be done," and I was like, "No, it can." I love that kind of challenge, so dived into that. Yeah, I mean, you've got to find the sort of. It's funny you say me finding the joy in things. I don't know if my friends would agree with that, but with work, you've got to find oh, what's my way in here? How can I make this fun for me? What's the game I can play between me and the script? So yeah, I think all the one and dones have been fun. And sometimes I wish I could do more. Like Gallifrey, I would happily have written several more of them, but just the scheduling didn't line up or something.
Oh, look, will
But
you
then, like I
please?
said earlier, it means you can then enjoy them as a fan. So that's
Will
good.
you get on the blower then, please, to Scott Hancock, who, oddly enough, I interviewed a couple of weeks ago. No, I've got to stop saying that. But so Sean Carlson and Miles Richardson and Scott Hancock. Hancock, who said, "Oh, we should do some more Gallifrey." Carlson, who said, "I'd love to do some more Gallifrey," and Miles Richardson, who came to the conclusion that there should be an entire series of Narvin and Braxiatel sitcoms where they go
Oh
around
my
the
gosh.
universe
What a
sniping
pitch.
at each other, and causing havoc. So please, will the four of you get together and make that happen? It would be amazing.
Okay, I'll send out my bat signal. That's what I'll do. Well, I'll get off the gang.
You probably can't answer this question, but I do always ask it. What is coming up for Tim Foley?
Oh, well, I mean, I can answer it in the sense that I don't really know because you never know when these things are going to be released. I think the only one of mine that's on the schedule is a Eighth Doctor Charlie and Audacity. I think that's out at the end of the year. Um, and if you were to check out the synopsis of that, it's very weird and very vague. And so I can't really say anything about it, but
Do you
key
know,
things shall happen.
I have loved
Mhm.
Jay Griffiths ever since I was obsessed with Bugs, aged Nipper. So when she was announced as the eighth Doctor, I was like, oh, great. And then Mum Art was going to me a couple of days ago. Do you know, I think this might be her last one. There's something about how this blurb has been written, and I was like, oh, please no. It's a great trio, though, the three of them.
Yeah, they're great, and they're so funny together in the studio. Uh, I remember listening to which one was it? My spooky Christmas one. What was it called again? The Empty Man, and just listening to them just chat away and just having a fun time record. Oh, again, they want to find the joy in these things as well, so they're happy to be doing all them together. But yes, I think that one is the only one that is on mine on the schedule. Obviously, I have some more. Um, Audios out there. I've definitely teased in one of my Fifth Doctors. I sort of tease a Fourth Doctor that I'm sure will surface eventually. Um, but yeah, I've, I've, I think I've said this a few times, and I hope I don't get in trouble. But I wrote so much Big Finish during lockdown, and there is a lot of my scripts out there in the world. So although I'm not writing as much Big Finish sort of right now on a sort of day-to-day basis, there's still so much of me to come. You'll barely notice I'm missing.
Well, what is happening away from Big Finish then?
I'm doing a lot of theatre stuff. That's my kind of that's my day job, I guess you think. And theatre's I mean it's funny because so audio can happen very quickly, you can write very quickly, but theatre is slow. Oh my goodness. I Whenever I have a play on, it's work that began sort of like 6 to 8 years previously. Um, but I'm coming up to I'm doing a couple of plays this autumn, and then they should be touring next year in 2026. So I'm sort of in a rehearsal room at the moment, um, which is why I can't be writing Big Finish Doctor Who sadly, because I'm sitting in a room, sometimes wearing a turtleneck, just suddenly nodding along, thinking, yes, got to look like a playwright now.
A
Yes,
bit more nuance in that line, please.
The joke, make it funnier, please. Thank you. Yes. But no, I mean, I love a rehearsal room. That's the only bad thing about doing audio drama is because you're with the actors for a day. Whereas picture that
Yeah.
joy, but then spread over 4 or 5 weeks rehearsals and then the run of the show. And I say joy, and obviously there's sort of highs and lows. Like it's very intense, I think, being with actors the rehearsal period. And there'll be great bits and there'll be bits when they're tearing out their hair, but it's such an experience for you all to be on. It's quite addictive.
I mean, not having been behind the scenes in the theatre, I'm guessing when I say this, but I'm assuming like if it's a long run, it sort of evolves, and as the actors get to know each other and then you tweak bits and you sort of go on a journey. Whereas,
Yeah.
like you said, you've got 2 days in the studio or a day. You've just got you get it done, like make it as good as you can, but get it done.
Yeah, and it's a different kind of writing as well. So you always have to sort of gear shift because for audio, you've got to be quite sort of prescriptive because you know that an actor is going to pick up the script and they're kind of going to do it, and they're going to have to get it in like 2 takes. Whereas for a theatre script, you can be a bit more not vague, that's the wrong thing, but you know that you're going to be able to sit around for weeks on end to chat about this line here or this comma here. What do we think? What do we think this means? But you don't get that luxury for audio. Um, but I just love sitting around, not necessarily with my own script, but in a rehearsal room, there's always biscuits, and I'm just there with my cup of tea, slotting them in one by one, just nodding along. Yeah, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. Oh,
I should have sent you some for this interview, right? Like
God,
payments in the
but
interview.
yeah, I
What's your
assume they're
favourite
coming,
biscuit?
but oh, it depends.
A
Now, if it's
question you
if
didn't
I'm
think
if
you'd
I'm
get asked tonight.
no, I'm glad this is my area of expertise right here. If I'm dunking it, it could have a little bit of chocolate, but not too much because you don't want it to melt too much. Cup of tea. Oh God, what's my favorite biscuit? Oh, I tell you what's not my favorite biscuit. When they do flavored custard creams, because
Oh,
I
we're
always
selling
assume
them in my
I'm
shop at the moment. I mean, have you seen the flavours? Neapolitan ice cream, custard creams.
because I'm convinced I'm going to love them. I'm going to convince, and then I'll eat them
They're
and I'll be
all
like,
horrible. There's an apple
what is this
pie one as well. It's
monstrosity?
like, God's
I'll
sakes.
try it as well. Because I never learn. Because then I'll go back to the shop and I'll be like, oh, look, Neapolitan. Oh, I mean, I did try that and I didn't like it, but maybe I will this time. I'm a sucker for a weird biscuit.
They perfected the custard cream. All right. So why are you mucking about with that?
They did. Although I tell you what, though, I do really like malted milks with chocolate on, and to me, that's a
Oh, they're
fairly recent
great.
invention,
Yeah.
you know. So I allow some experimentation. There we go.
I love that we got somehow got onto biscuits at the end of all this. And also just to say, we've got some fine theatres in Eastbourne where I live. Okay, so if you're
Oh, right,
touring,
okay.
the Devonshire or the
Yeah.
Congress, you know,
Oh, right, right, right. Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll let you know. It's great because something like a tour, it's completely out of my hands and it's organized by other people, and then I just end up in some lovely places. I remember
yeah,
at the beginning of this year, I went to a place called Chichester. Oh my gosh,
that's just
the
up the
charity
road.
shops in Chichester.
Oh, it's
Oh,
amazing, isn't it? I love a charity
yeah, they're
show.
incredible. I bought an antique shoehorn, and then it was only afterwards I was like, Why have I done that? I don't know, but it looks great. So.
Somehow I've got it in my head. You mentioned the new Avengers earlier, right? I've got it in my head because I'm only about 5 short that I'm going to walk into a charity shop and one of those 5 will be there amongst the books. So I just go in every
Oh
charity shop,
no,
hope, no, not yet, no.
you never know. So
They're
which ones are
hanging
you
on to
missing?
them. Oh, good grief. What am I missing? Well, obviously, all towards the end, I haven't got the Dying Days. No one's putting that in a charity shop. Um,
I once found it in a charity shop. I
you
once found
never
the die
did.
disc and I bought it and then I read it and then I gave it away again. I was
Oh,
very young. I didn't know better.
that could be a pension, Tim. Now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I
Uh,
mean, I'm just looking at my shelves. I've got all the missing adventures, but I haven't got any of the new adventures. They have lost to the sands of Tim. I don't know. It's with
Sands of Time was a missing adventure. My God, grief.
it was. That's why they act it.
Well, Tim, I'm not going to keep you much longer because I promised an hour, but thank you because I wasn't being facetious when I said at the start of the call that when me and Mark, see your name in the schedules, we get very excited because we know it's going
Thank
to be a
you.
great story. We know there's going to be wonderful characterization in it, and good God, you haven't disappointed me yet. I mean, that's a fucking good hit
Oh
rate,
well,
all
you just
right?
wait. You just wait.
Oh,
No, no, thank you.
all the dogs are coming, are they?
they're the ones in the vaults. For a reason, they were like, "We can't let this out. What is this, Tim? Come on." No, thank you. That I do appreciate that, and I think I said at the beginning, I very rarely meet people who listen to the audios, and I'm so glad to talk to you as well because like I listen to them and I want to chat about them with people, you know. So this is great. So thank you very much.
Right, next time you want to talk about big finishes, all right? We're on the socials now. Just send me a message, okay?
Okay. Yes. Yes. Great.
I'll say, here, Donny, guess what he's been saying about your script? Good God. No! Tim, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure today.
No, thanks very much, Joe.